Hi guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about destructuring and restructuring in JavaScript. So we're going to see what these terminologies mean. And to start off with, JavaScript has a simple and yet powerful way of unpacking objects and arrays using destructuring and restructuring. So imagine you're trying to buy, let's say, a bicycle stand, a specific bicycle stand. And instead of being given the whole box with everything so that you can start looking for the stand inside the box with all the other things, the chain, all that, you can now pluck out what you want. And this is the power of destructuring. So with destructuring, you go and ask for a bicycle stand, you get the bicycle stand itself instead of being given the whole box, and then you look for the item you need inside. So these are the table of contents. We have what is destructuring. We have destructuring objects. Then we'll see how to destructure arrays. Next thing we'll check out is what is restructuring, restructuring objects and arrays. And then we see destructuring in functions. And then we look at some bonus tips and a conclusion toast. To start off with, destructuring in JavaScript is a syntax. Destructuring is the JavaScript syntax that lets you unpack values from arrays and objects into individual variables. So it helps us grab what we need from an array or an object. So for instance, let's take an example of a person with a name, age, and is married properties. So this is a person object with a name property, an age property, and is married property. So what if we wanted to create variables for each of these properties? So we wanted to create a variable for the name, a variable for the age, and a variable for the is married. So what if we wanted to store the name and age in separate variables? What we would do something like this. So we could come declare a variable called name and assign it person.name. Similar case to the age, assign it person.age. And this is okay, but compare it to when we use the destructuring syntax, whereby from the person object, we can grab the individual properties from the person object. And something you need to note before even we get into destructuring objects is that the variable names must match the property name. So the age will pluck out the age. And in case we added the is married, would pluck out the is married value from the person object. So when destructuring objects, property names matter and have to be matched to the variable names. But there is a way to rename in case you want to rename. So let's start with the destructuring objects and then we'll continue from there. So head over to VS Code in case you want to follow along, and then let's start. So we're going to create a person object and then we give them a name of TechWithTwin, an age of 20, and is married. So this is how we create an object. Then we say is married is false. So initially what we could do in case we wanted to create three variables, we could say name equals to person.name. Then you say const age equals person.age. Then const is married equals to person.is married. So this is the syntax that maybe everyone knows, but in case we want to use destructuring, this is the syntax we use. So instead of declaring all these variables, what you can do is to call in an object and then we assign it equals to the person, right? So that's the first step. So we come use the object syntax. This is curly brackets, and then assign it to the person. And then now from this object like, new object like, we can start plucking out what we want. We can pluck out the age, we can pluck out is married, and then we can pluck out the name. The order doesn't matter because an object has unique keys. And this is the destructuring syntax. So we can even console log age. And then we can see age is 20. So that's the destructuring syntax for the objects. So if you go back, the next thing you need to check is how can we change the variable name. So in case we don't want to call this age, the syntax is as follows. So you come and add a full colon and then reassign the name to my age. And then now here you can console log my age. So get the same value. All right. So, and how can you supply a default value? So to supply a default value, so maybe we want a default value for the name. Would say you add an equal sign to the beside the name, then you say name equals to not provided. So if now I come and console log name, let me use my name because name is a reserved keyword. My name. And then here I can use my name. So we have added a default to the my name. So let's see. You still get the initial value, but if you remove this and run it, we get not provided. So that's how you add a default value. All right. So the next thing we need to check is destructuring arrays. Something to note is that destructuring an array is somehow similar but quite different because arrays don't have unique keys, but you can use indexes. So indexes will still play a key role here. So we can copy this fruits array. All right. So this is our fruits array. And then to destructure an array, it's similar. So you start with the const or maybe redeclare using the let. And then open the square brackets. So the similar square brackets for the array are the same square brackets you come and use here. Then you assign it to the array you want to destructure from. And then start grabbing. But now make sure the indexes match. And now here the variable names doesn't matter. All right. So here you can even use. So if I say my popo, or maybe I can use first so that we can even understand. And then console.log first. So if we do this, we get popos. Why? Because first is index 0 and it is matched with index 0 of the fruits array. So in case I come and add second, so this one will be matched with the second. So this one is index 0, 1 will be matched with index 1 of the array you are destructuring from. So if I console log the second, so if I console log second, I should get oranges. And the next thing we need to learn is that what if we want to name the first, second, and then the rest. So you have a syntax for the rest. Called the spread operator. So you come and use it here. It is start with 3 dots and then give them a name. So you can say others. And then this one now will unpack the rest of the fruits in a new array. So let me just show you. So this one will unpack the rest in a new array. So you can see the rest has been unpacked with the other arrays, which is the pineapples and apples. So the next thing we need to check is what if I don't care about the first item, I only care about the second item. So you can omit the first item. So you can see item index 0 is undefined. Excuse. So you can see item 0 is undefined. And then you come and plug the second item. And then console log second, save. And then we only grab the second item. Sorry. So that's it for the arrays. I don't think there's anything new. So with the destructuring, so all right, same thing. Then the rest. And then now the next thing we need to check is how to add a default, similar to how we did in the objects. You come here and say not provided. So just add an equal sign. Then if you run this, since the second item is provided, so let's try using the first item. Okay, let's remove all this and have an item that is not present. So 0, 1, 2. So that, so I can say 1, 2, and then that is equals to not provided. So the reason I'm using this is because I want to have the array to end at index 1. So 0, 1, 2. At index 2, there's nothing. So the default will kick in. All right. Let's see. So index 0, index 1, 0, 1, 2. No, I'm consolidating the wrong thing. All right. So this one should work. Not provided. If we provide a value, then the value kicks in. So the next thing we need to talk about is now the reverse of destructuring, which is restructuring. So restructuring means building objects or arrays from individual variables. So the way we created individual variables from existing arrays or objects is the same way now we need to restructure those items back. So if we have, let's start with objects. So if we have an object, if you have two variables, so we have two variables there. We need to bring them back to an object. One thing we could do is, let's say we call this person. We could do name. Let's use my name. So this one is, my syntax highlighter is bringing some issues. So you can say my name equals my name. Then age equals age. Then console log person. So if we do that, we get our person. We get our person object. So, and with destructuring, what we do is that we just come and say my name and age. So destructuring will fill in the other details and still works the same. Oh, this one now is not destructuring, it's restructuring. So forming an object back from individual variables. So that's what we do. And then what if we have a dynamic key? Dynamic key might be coming from a backend or from an API. So when using a dynamic key, what you do is that you have the key and the value. So the most critical part is here, whereby you use this syntax, the square bracket syntax. So this one was destructuring. It's like creating an array, but now this one helps us insert the key as a value of an existing variable. And then if we console log that, we still get the same thing. But now this one is dynamic because now this name you can fetch it from the backend instead of hard coding. The next thing we need to talk about is restructuring arrays. So if you have an array, you can say const. We have individual items, so fruit, say apple. Let's first, let me just use the same example that is existing. I've used fruit 1, fruit 2, fruit 1 is equals to apples. Fruit 2 is equals to oranges. And then to restructure back this to an array, you can say fruits. You just come here and add them, fruit 1, fruit 2. And then if you console log fruits, this is what we expect to get. Yeah, so we did return back to an array. Then you go to destructuring functions. Let's start with so you can destructure directly if a function receives an array or an object as a parameter. So in case a function is receiving an array or an object. Let me just show you. So if you copy this and paste, so you can see what is happening is that this function is receiving an object, and then if we grab it like this, we can access the individual properties and create variables for them using const name equals person.name. So you can remember when we started, we had such a similar issue. So to prevent that, what you can do is that we can destructure immediately from the object. So we can say we grab the name and then we grab the age from whatever is incoming. So this is similar to what we were doing before, whereby we have const person equals to name TechWithTwin and then age of 20, whereby instead of creating name equals to person.name and const age equals to person.age, we could destructure and get const name and age is equals to person. So this is the exact thing that is happening here, such that whatever is being injected here is the person. So we can destructure immediately because this whole thing represents a person. A person is what will be injected here as an object, and then we destructure on the fly, and then it's the same thing. So by doing that, everything works the same. All right, so then we go back to learning how to destructure an array now. We were destructuring the object, now let's destructure the array. So we paste that. So we have a sum function that receives an array of two items, item A and item B. So we grab the numbers as an array, and then we use this syntax whereby we call it A. We create a variable A that is of index 0 and a variable B of index 1. So instead of doing this, we can as well destructure immediately from the numbers and grab A and B. So this is similar to what we had. So we could say const numbers is equals to, we have A and B, or maybe 10 and 20, and we need to create variables against these. So what we could do number one, let's call it A is equals to numbers of index 0. And then const B, we have numbers of index 1. So instead of doing this, we can destructure and grab const A and B is equals to numbers. So this is the exact thing we are doing here. So we are destructuring the numbers after the number is inserted as a parameter to the function. So let's continue. Then we destructure. Then the bonus point is how to destructure nested objects. So it's quite often, sometimes you might want to destructure. Let's say we want the variable to create the city. So we can say city equals user.address.city. All right. But we can still destructure from it. So we can do const, we start with the curly brackets and then user. So from the user, the first thing we can grab is the address and then destructure the address. So we could do this and then const city is equals to address.city. But you see, this one is still an object, so we can continue destructuring it and grab the city. So that's still the same. All right. Yes. So, and then in React, this is frequently used in React, whereby you are destructuring from the useState hook. The useState hook returns an array with two items. So you can destructure them and give them any name you'd like. And then as a conclusion, destructuring and restructuring are foundational JavaScript skills that make working with data far more intuitive and elegant. Once you start using them, you're likely never to want to return to the verbose data handling again. And that's it from me, guys. Happy coding. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, click on the bell notification and share with your friends. and follow me for more content. Thank you.